Okay, part 4 of our Abrahamic covenant study. Alright, I made a mistake in the last video by saying, I said the Lord makes these ages easy to calculate, and then I messed them all up. Sarah died at 127. Isaac was 37. Abraham was 137. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to skip over the rest of chapter 24 and 25. Okay, we're going to look at it, but we're going to do it in the next part. I think that chapter 26 is important for solidifying what we've learned so far. And there was a famine in the land. This is chapter 26, starting in verse 1. And there was a famine in the land beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. Okay, what did Abraham do when there was a famine in the land? He went to Egypt. Okay, he came out with great substance. And Isaac went unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. All right, so he goes to Gerar, either to fill up on supplies for the long journey across the Sinai Peninsula, or to ferry a ship into Egypt. Okay, I would say that's probably what he was doing. It's probably what Abraham did, but the Bible doesn't say, and so it really doesn't matter. And the Lord appeared unto him and said, Do not go down into Egypt. Dwell in the land which I shall tell you of. Sojourn in this land. Okay, now where is he? Yes, he is in the land of Canaan. Marginally, but specifically, he's in Gerar. Okay, that is important. And I will be with you, and I will bless you, for unto you and unto your seed will I give all of these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham your father. All of these countries is Philistia. So Gerar is the capital city of Philistia. And remember, that's what, we have the whole covenant with Abraham and Abimelech. And I will make your seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto your seed all these countries. And in your seed shall all of the nations of the earth be blessed, because that Abraham obeyed my voice, kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my Torah. So we don't know how much conversation God had with Abraham and everything that they've talked about, but we know that Abraham had commandments, statutes, and some form of instruction. That's what Torah means, instruction. And the men of the place asked him of his wife. And he said, She is my sister, for he feared to say, She is my wife. Lest, said he, the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah, because she was fair to look upon. Okay? So, I'd say they had him pegged on this one from the start. Remember, Abraham said the same thing, but Abimelech had already taken Sarah into his custody, and the Lord came to him in a dream and said, Behold, you are but a dead man. He rose the next morning, told all of his servants. Everyone was sore afraid. So I doubt that they fell for this at all. It doesn't say that Abimelech took Rebekah. even though she was fair to look upon. Remember, this was over 40 years this has been since Abraham went to Abimelech. So Abimelech was much younger. Sarah was much older than Rebekah at this time. And here, Abimelech is much older, and Rebekah is much younger and fair to look upon, but it doesn't say that he took her. Verse 8. Now, in verse 8, we need to ask ourselves, what does the first part of this verse have to do with the second part of this verse? It's one sentence, really. And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time. Now, we don't know how long a long time is, but it's not 6 months. He's been there a long time. That Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out at a window and saw, and behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah his wife. This word for sporting is the Hebrew word tzachach. It's Strong's Concordance number 6711. It means to laugh, to mock, to play, to make sport. So that, they weren't making out in public. They were playing together, as a husband and wife probably do. And Abimelech called Isaac and said, Behold, of a surety she is your wife. And how saidst thou, she is my sister? And Isaac said unto him, Because I said, lest I die for her. And Abimelech said, What is this that you have done unto us? One of the people might have lightly lain with your wife, and you shouldest have brought guiltiness upon us. And Abimelech charged all his people, saying, He that touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Okay, so Isaac's been there a long time. He's overstayed his welcome. They remember when Abraham came. Abraham came for a little while. He grazed his animals in the distant fields, right? Stayed for a little while, then he left. They see Isaac coming. They say, oh yeah, we remember when his dad came. Here for a little while and he left. But Isaac's not leaving. Isaac's been here a long time. So they need to find a way to make him feel uncomfortable. Make him move along on his own without pressure. And so now he charged all of his people, any man that touches this man or his wife will be put to death. And he has people they're pointing, whispering, probably making comments, trying to make Isaac feel as if he's overstayed his welcome. And how does Isaac respond to this? Verse 12. Then Isaac sowed in that land, and received in the same year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. Okay, so that's how Isaac responds. He starts tilling the ground. He sowed in the land. And it's one thing to graze your animals in the distant fields, and it's another to start tilling the ground. That's a sign of ownership, and also a sign of disrespect to Abimelech, the king of Gerar. And the man waxed, and there's no famine. That's long past. And the man waxed great. Verse 13. And went forward and grew until he became very great. For he had possessions of flocks and herds, a great store of servants, and the Philistines envied him. For all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father, the Philistines had stopped them and filled them with earth. Okay, now, we can see that they never planned on keeping a covenant with Abraham. Soon as Abraham dies, they start stopping the wells with earth. Now, why would they do that? Because they're trying to erase the fact that Abraham had ever been there in the first place. Remember in 2005, Ariel Sharon, the Prime Minister of Israel, gave over the Gaza Strip to the Palestinians. Israel had taken it from Egypt in the war. They gave it to the Palestinians, along with factories, greenhouses, docks, built, warehouses, buildings that they could have used. Instead, they burnt them to the ground, bulldozed them to the ground, and got rid of them. Why did they do that? Because they want to erase the very presence and the history of the Jews ever having been there. And that's what's going on right here. 16. And Abimelech said unto Isaac, Go from us, for you are much mightier than we. Okay, so Abimelech's had enough. This guy is waxing great. So he finally tells Isaac, Go, man, you got to get away from us. So what does Isaac do? Verse 17, And Isaac departed from thence, and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar, and dwelt there. So Isaac didn't really leave. He left the city of Gerar, but he pitches his tent in the valley of Gerar. And Isaac dug again the wells of water which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham. And he called their names after the names which his father had called them. Okay, so these people could have used these wells. Israel is a place that relies on rain. Really, most of the water they have are the springs of wells, the springs of water that you have to dig for. 19, And Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a well of springing water. And the herdsmen of Gerar did strive with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, The water is ours. And he called the name of the well Esek, because they strove with him. Okay, Esek. Let's see, Strong's number 6231. It means to press upon, to defraud, to violate, to deceive, to do violence. Verse 21, And they dug another well, and strove for that also. And he called the name of it Sitnah. Strong's number 7856. Sitnah means, it comes from the root word Satan. It means opposition, accusation. Okay? Now, try to think of Israeli settlements in Judea and Samaria. It's the same thing here. What we see today parallels what we see in this chapter 26. They build a settlement. They strive over the settlement. There's uproar. The UN gets involved. They build another settlement. Verse 22, and he removed from there and dug another well, and for that they strove not. And he called the name of it Rehoboth, and he said, for now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. What land? The valley of Gerar in Philistia. Okay, so this word, Rehoboth, let's see, where's that? Okay. It is from the root word Rechab. So it's Rehoboth. And it means a broad place. Okay, so now in the valley of Gerar, they have a well called the broad place. And they're going to be fruitful in the land in the valley of Gerar. All right? And he went from there, this is verse 23, and he went up from there to Beersheba. Beersheba is the place of the original covenant Abimelech made with Abraham. Now he just spent the last several years, many years, over 40 years, he raised his children in Be'er Lahai Roi, in the wilderness, in the wilderness of Zin, in the bottom of the Negev. Okay? And now he goes to Beersheba, the place where Abraham made a covenant with Abimelech. And the Lord appeared unto him the same night, and said, I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with you, and I will bless you and multiply your seed for my servant Abraham's sake. So, all of this rough shoulder with Abimelech, all of this intrusion into Philistia, this is all by the will of God. And he built an altar there and called upon the name of the Lord and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. So, these guys like to dig wells. And Abimelech went to him from Gerar, and Ahuzath, one of his friends, and of course, Phicol, the chief captain of his army. And Isaac said unto them, okay, now remember, the Bible, in part 3, we saw that the Bible calls Beersheba the Philistines' land. Remember? And Isaac said unto them, wherefore come you to me, seeing that you hate me, and have sent me away from you? So they come to Isaac. Isaac says, get off my lawn. And they said, well, we saw that certainly the Lord was with you. And we said, let there now be an oath between us, even between us and you. And let us make a covenant with you. So here comes Abimelech and Phicol, the chief captain of his army, and they're looking for a covenant. but a covenant is not what they're going to get. That you will do us no hurt, as we have not touched you, and if we have done unto you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord. And he made them a feast, and they did eat and drink. And they rose up betimes in the morning, and sware one to another. And Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. Okay, let's see what's going on here. They ate and drank. They rose up. This word betimes is the word shakam. Okay, it's Strong's Concordance number 7925. And it means to load up a burden on the back of a man or a beast, to set out early in the morning. Okay? So Isaac entertained them. They did eat and drink. They rose up in the morning. They loaded their animals. Please turn that back on. They loaded up their animals, and on their way out, they swear to one another. Don't attack me, I won't attack you. Right? And they departed from him in peace. Okay, now we're going to see a play on words. And it came to pass the same day that Isaac's servants came and told him concerning the well which they had dug, and said unto him, We have found water. And he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba unto this day. But I thought Abraham named it Beersheba, almost 50 years ago. But Abraham names it the well of the oath. Isaac names it the seventh well. So the word Sheba does mean oath, but it also means seven, the number 7. So he was able to change the name of the place without dishonoring his father Abraham by changing the name of the place. So it was known as the well of the oath. Now it's known as the seventh well unto this day. Right? And then it gets into things that are off the topic. All right? So, what do we see so far? God promises Abram that he would have a multitude of descendants as the stars in the sky and the sand on the sea. And he and those descendants would inherit all of the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession. He changes his name to Abraham. He reiterates that covenant over and over and over. He gives him circumcision as a token of the covenant. Okay? And he gives him the commandment, You shall not break my covenant, therefore, you or your descendants in their generations. And he breaks the covenant by making a separate covenant with Abimelech for the same terms. Abimelech wanted him to swear that he was just a sojourner in land that actually belonged to him. His sons and their sons would therefore inherit the land. Abraham cut covenant. He gave the animals to Abimelech, and they too made a covenant. And then you have the Akedah, which is Hebrew for the binding, and mended the relationship. Okay? The prophetic shadow picture of the crucifixion of the Messiah mends the relationship. And after the death of Abraham, he sends Isaac to Abimelech to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And Isaac rolls back that covenant that Abraham made with Abimelech. Okay, so a quick surface reading of chapter 26 would lead you to believe that Isaac made the same agreement and covenant with Abimelech that Abraham made. But that's not at all what happened. As you can see, Isaac played it pretty rough with Abimelech. And so that's all for part 4. In part 5, we're going to try to figure out why Isaac not only chose to live at Be'er Lahai Roi, or the well of he who sees me, or, something like that. Be'er means well, Lahai Roi, of one who sees me, or he who sees me, or something like that. But not only why would he choose to live there in the middle of the wilderness, but what was so urgent that he straightway left the funeral of his mother and pitched his mother's tent there. So that's it for part 4. Stay tuned for part 5. See you then.